Oops, I'm muted. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday morning sitting group. Um, I just need to get some water and I'll be right back with you. So we just wait another moment. We have a really small group today, but I think people will join in. And yeah, people are coming in now. So welcome everybody to our Sunday morning sitting group. Glad you're back, Liz. And my name is Trudy. I'm the founding teacher here at Inside LA, and I'm talking to you. I'm speaking from my present location is Venice, California, in LA, occupying the unceded lands of the indigenous people who were custodians of this land long before we arrived.
Okay, getting right on there.
Gary, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Long before we arrived, the Tongva, sometimes called Keys, and a little north, the Chumash tribes of people. And if you're new to Inside LA today, our sitting group, we roughly divide the time into thirds where we do some meditation, have some teaching, and then some dialogue and conversation. So also, I want to thank, we have a new moderator today. I want to thank Ashley for being our moderator today. She is the beautiful peacock there arising out of a lotus, it looks like, a lotus flower. There she is. So this is Ashley's first time moderating, and I'm really grateful to you for volunteering. So thank you, dear. And excuse me, let's sit together. This morning I want to do some guided metta for the body, loving kindness for the body. We've done this before, but I want to talk about, since I've been I and Thomas have been talking about equanimity and balance. I want to talk about how the body is really one of the places where we can most directly find that equanimity. And I know it might seem a little counterintuitive, but we'll talk about that. So it's called the affectionate body scan. And for those of you who like to sit in complete silence, I apologize because this really is it's a guided meditation, but I'll leave as much silence as possible. Uh, and I think it's a good foundation for what the teaching is going to be today. So let's sit together. And of course, for years I've said, let's sit together. But really, I know that Ethy, who isn't, oh yeah, you are here, Ethy. Ethy has to lie down, and others of you who may have, body challenges may need to lie down or stand up. Matthew Brensilver, a wonderful teacher who teaches a lot at Spirit Rock, he had to stand up during retreats. He would stand for hours and hours. I mean, I can't even imagine how that frame your body can be in and stay in for approximately half hour. Um, let's begin. So we begin by taking a few deep breaths, always just to settle into being here and let the whole body and mind and heart know that we're meditating now. And this is a formal practice of meditation as opposed to the informal mindfulness, being as conscious and aware in daily life as might be doing. So taking a deep breath in and releasing. And once again, breathing in and releasing any tension in the body as you breathe out. One more time, breathing in and so this is a practice that I learned from an elderly monk about 40 years ago, who was teaching in a silent meditation retreat. And when he began this guided meditation, it was so simple that my mind started generating all kinds of doubts. So I'm inviting you to not have to go through that, but to simply follow along. You can do your own practice. If you're not drawn to doing this one, that's fine. And we're going to scan very slowly through the body. First, bringing attention to the region of your head, the scalp, the front and back and sides of the head. And just saying, may my head, saying quietly, innerly to yourself, may my head be happy. May my scalp be happy. May my whole face relax and be happy. Just seeing if you can sense and feel subtle relaxing of the whole head. Maybe the ears lowering just a little bit. And then gently shifting attention down through the neck. May my neck be happy. May my throat and neck be at ease. Front of my neck, the back, the sides. Moving attention to the shoulders. May my shoulders relax, release any tension, and be happy. Moving attention from the shoulders to the upper arms, the biceps, the skin and bones. May my upper arms be happy. And my elbows. This complicated joint of the elbows. May my elbows be happy. And the forearms and wrists. May both of my arms be at ease, my whole arm relaxed and happy. And may my hands, may they be happy and at peace. Fingers, thumbs, back of the hand, palms, both hands, may they relax and be happy. And now bringing attention to the upper back, the backs of the shoulders, and the shoulder blades. May my upper back be well and happy. And the middle back, right under the shoulder blades there. May this part of my back relax and be well. And the lower back. So much tension stored in the lower back. May my lower back be at ease. May my whole spine be happy. Be well and be strong. And then when you're ready, bringing the attention back up to the chest. Feeling the collarbone and whole region of the chest, breasts if you have them, heart, upper ribs, lungs. May my chest be open, happy, and at ease. And my belly, my abdomen, this whole region of the digestive and reproductive organs that can hold so much emotion. May my belly be happy and peaceful. And may my bottom, my buttocks, literally the seat of consciousness, be happy. And at ease. And my genitals, may they be content and peaceful. My hips, this whole pelvic region, may my hips be happy and relaxed. May my thighs be happy, free from judgment, at ease. And my knees, these complex joints that hold us up, may my knees be well and happy. My lower legs, calves, shins, may they be happy. And my ankles, another amazing joint. May my ankles be happy and strong. May both of my legs, my whole legs, be happy and well. And my feet, the heels, the soles of the feet, the toes, the tops of the feet, the whole foot, each foot. May my feet that carry me everywhere be happy. May they be appreciated, and may my feet feel loved. And just taking a few minutes to feel the whole body from head to toe. Feel the kindness, the loving awareness suffusing the whole body. Moving through the body like a wave. Expressing this intention to appreciate, respect, and love this body. May I care for my body joyfully. And if there are other feelings arising that are not of love for your body, just noticing that too, allowing those feelings too to be respected, to be present. just sensing and feeling. This body is a home. We can be finding in this body, this very body, the ground of presence and well-being. And just continuing for a while, being present with the breath in the body, with the sensations in the body, with whatever helps you stay here. And maybe calling to mind a time when you felt a sense of belonging in your body. And if you can find just any memory of this, even if it's not present right now, it's really good to evoke that sense of safety and belonging in your body. Just in those moments, connecting with something in you that knows that your body is worthy to be honored as this precious human body we are given for a little while in this life. Okay, so yeah, turn your cameras back on if you feel like it now that sitting is over. Um, I'd like to see everybody, but it's fine if you don't feel like it too. So I want to begin with a quote from a Buddhist sutta. Uh, it's from actually the first book of the Samyutta Nikaya, which is a book about devas, sometimes called devatas. They're like celestial spirits. And in this book is like a compilation of their questions for the Buddha and his responses. And they're asking the Buddha about practice. And he said, so this is the question: a tangle inside, a tangle outside. This generation is entangled in a tangle. I ask you this, O Gautama, name of the Buddha, who can disentangle this tangle? Now, the answer to this question, if I can find it, I'm going to show you because it's pretty funny. Oh yeah, here it is. So this big volume is a book called the Visuddhimagga, and it starts with that quote. And I just want you to know, wait, hold on, I'm gonna lose my place here. That this is basically the answer to that question. But we're going to answer it more briefly this morning. But if you're really curious, you can read the Visuddhimagga, which is it's I think it was the 5th century commentary on the Buddhist sutras. So it's hundreds of years later. But it's interesting. It's really interesting, especially if you want to geek out on all the details of Vipassana meditation. So this is the answer that the Buddha gave. One established in virtue, wise, developing the mind and heart with reason, A practitioner who is ardent and discreet can disentangle this tangle. For those who have expunged, that means, gotten rid of passion and hatred and also ignorance, for them, this tangle is disentangled. And then it goes on. So this is really about our practice and how we disentangle with our practice of mindfulness and compassion. And one of the places that we can find most directly, that we can touch to that sense of balance and equanimity that I was talking about last week. Although I was talking, I had so much to say. It wasn't necessarily sounding that equanimous, but I was just so enthusiastic. And one of the places we can directly touch to this sense of equanimity and balance is the body. And Jack loves to quote this quote from The Dubliners, a short stories by James Joyce, when he says, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. So that is the opposite of what we're trying to do. And the Buddha was really clear. He said, the first foundation of mindfulness is the body, and that is the ground of our existence. And furthermore, within this, as he said, this fathom-long body, we can find all the truths of the Dharma, the truth of impermanence, the truth of suffering, and the selflessness of the body. Our minds might not be selfless, but the body is very selfless, and it's completely out of our control a lot of the time. So this first foundation is the body, and the Buddha was also very clear. I love this instruction. He said, feel the body in the body. Feel the breath in the breath. What does that mean? In other words, feel the body from within the experience of inhabiting this body, feeling the aliveness, the sensations, just what it is like. Feel the breath from within the experience of sensing and feeling the movement of the breath in the body. And he wanted us to get to know the body from just within this actual felt experience of being the body from within, because that is how we begin to notice the arising and passing of everything. Earlier in the sit, I had a real itch under my eye. I was so tempted to just go like that, right? But I didn't do it because, of course, I'm meditating. Of course, I'm on Zoom meditating. But even so, I've learned, and you've all learned by now, that if you don't scratch that itch, what happens, right? It passes. It sort of, it disentangles. It stops being this solid kind of itch, and it just gradually sort of evaporates. This is one of my favorite quotes from a Thai forest meditation teacher, great meditation master, who was Ajahn Chah's teacher. Ajahn Chah was Jack's teacher. Ajahn Mun is his name, and he said, never allow the mind to desert the body. Isn't that beautiful? Never allow the mind to desert the body. Examine its nature. See its elements. See the impermanence, the suffering, the selflessness of the body while you're sitting, walking, standing, or lying down. There's no escape. In other words, you can be mindful all the time in this way. And then the body's true nature is seen fully and lucidly by the heart. And the wonders of the world will become clear. In this way, the purity of the mind and heart can shine forth, timeless and delivered. So this is very beautiful, but just let's back up for a minute and ask, what does it mean to be born. I mean, what are the consequences of being disconnected from your body? Like, what does it mean to be born in a body that the culture denigrates? What does that do to a child? What does that do to an adult, for that matter? Any human being. And what has happened to women's bodies, to Black and brown bodies, have been so objectified. Ashley, keep an eye on people coming in still. Been so objectified, and how do we untangle this? You know, when I look around, I realize that I'm living in a very disembodied culture. In spite of the billboards and the ads and, just featuring usually women's bodies, but bodies, bodies, bodies. It's a disembodied culture that fetishes the youthful body that I no longer have. Um, I see racialized bodies, marginalized bodies being profiled and attacked in both legislative and literal ways. I see obliviousness to whiteness, the white body, and the privilege and the impact that has, and the assumption that we all want to be the same, or we all want the same things. And all of this makes me sad because it leads to a lot of suffering. It leads to internalized body phobias of all kinds, of dysmorphia, which means not a realistic sense of what the shape of the body is or what it looks like. Eating disorders, addictions, self-hatred. You know, I remember long ago, I met a woman who had been in a very big body all her life as a child. And then at some point in her life, she lost like 150 pounds, some enormous amount of weight. And all her life, she had like a refrain in her mind: if only I were thin, this and this would happen. If only I were thin, that and that could happen. If only I were thin, the basic subtext is, I would be happy. And what do you think happened when she lost all that weight? Was she happy? The shame and self-loathing that had accompanied her for so many years did not go away because she had lost all that weight. She had to do work, she had to go to therapy, she had to learn to meditate, she had to relearn to love and care about herself and her body. And this is suffering. I mean, I just used that example. There are countless examples. Yeah, I could go off into all the examples, especially, but I'm going to restrain myself and come back and just say, this is the suffering that hurts us all. And it hurts women, it hurts Black and brown people even more. And this is Black History Month. So it just feels like a good time to remember the deeply rooted history of colonialism, of racial enslavement and exploitation that continue to embitter our relationships to this day. Last night, Jack and I watched a documentary with my sister about, I always mix things up. Zora Neale Hurston, I think it was. I often say Zora Hurston Neale. It's Zora Neale Hurston, right? It's a beautiful PBS documentary that I highly recommend. If you don't know who she is, I knew her because I loved her novels. She wrote a book called Their Eyes Were Watching God that I just loved so much, and other novels. But it turns out, I learned from the documentary, she was actually a brilliant genius anthropologist who was a pioneer, the first one to sort of invent participant anthropology. She studied her own culture. She studied Black culture in the South, and she immersed herself in it. She'd grown up in a town called Eatonville, which was an all-Black town in the South. So she was immersed in it and had 13 years of that life until her mother tragically died when she was 13, which upended her whole life. And she just went from, house to house to house. She couldn't get an education, but she was determined and she got one. It's an amazing story of this genius woman who could have done 5 times what she did, already what she did. I mean, we were sitting and watching, and at one point it named one of the novels and it said she wrote it in 7 or 8 weeks. And Jack was just like elbowing me, I've been like torturously working on this book for 2 years, like yeah, 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 cranking out sentence by sentence. Anyway, this woman was a genius, and she could have accomplished 5 times what she did in this life if there hadn't been, misogyny and racism. Racism, of course, just huge racism. It was the 1920s and 30s, and I think she died in 1960, poor and sick and completely penniless, um, which is awful. But it was also the misogyny of all the Black artists that she was friends with and part of the Harlem Renaissance and all of that, that in the end, when she started getting really successful, the men did not support her, which is another awful thing. But I'm talking about this because awareness of these histories of dominance are important for healing the suffering of separation, and separation from our bodies and separation from each other, because it's hard to feel open and friendly and safe if you don't feel safe in your own, or belong happily in your own body. And I think it's really hard for many people to feel the safety and love in their own bodies. And yet I feel everybody is longing to return to a more sane and natural kind of embodied way of living than most of us currently have in our everyday lives. And this is the good news of mindfulness and compassion. They offer so many doorways to a felt sense of aliveness for our bodies. And I remember when I was young, I always struggled with this sort of low level anxiety. And I think it came from having ADD undiagnosed and always being worried about what did I forget, or what did I do wrong, or what did I, that kind of anxious feeling. There was just something nameless and forgotten always there, and nipping, niggling at me. And my relationships were passionate at first, but they always seemed to end in some kind of heartbreak, or they didn't work out. My mind jumped around constantly, and I followed it faithfully wherever it was jumping, right? I didn't know any. When I found this practice, it was really hard for me at first. So if any of you are struggling and new, yeah, look at me now. I love it. But even when I was struggling to sit still and pay attention, even then, just making that effort helped me settle and relax into my own being and find a way, finally, as a young adult, to feel at home in my own skin and in my own life. And this is why we practice mindfulness and meditation. And little by little, breath by breath, step by step, right? We learn how to be present and aware. And moment by moment, we develop our strength, our power of attentiveness. And it's not just attention or attentiveness. Mindfulness is not just that. Mindfulness has 18 other elements that support it, including love and ethical living, and but we strengthen that attention so we can choose how we want to use our minds, our thoughts, our talents in this life. And keeping, my first teacher used to say, just how are you keeping your mind right now? Keeping our mind present and as open as we can, moment, moment, moment. Doing this is what really matters, because we know this present moment is the only one we really have to live in, to exist in. The past is a memory, the future is a dream, right? it's now that is happening and is real. And we practice being more steadily aware so that when we hit a rough patch in our lives, which is going to happen inevitably to everybody at some point, um, that no matter what our external circumstances are, our whole view and perspective can shift, and it can bring healing and it can bring relief. The documentary, yeah, thank you, Karen. I think sometimes of the body as a rudder, right? That it can steer us beyond the constant comment of our minds into a quiet space of more awareness. And then, of course, the more we calm down and listen, the more peace and quiet, it builds on itself. And that practice that you just did, the metta for the body, it's actually a great practice to calm down and relieve stress, even if you don't have body issues, but I don't know who doesn't at some point. And it works when you don't have time to go away on a meditation retreat or practice more intensively. It just helps as we go through the ups and downs of our life that we become more conscious of the aliveness of this body and our kinship with all life living in bodies. I recently read this book. I think I mentioned it last week too. I've mentioned it before, but I didn't read the whole book before. I just knew about her work. Monica Gagliano, an Italian researcher in Australia, who wrote a book about, it's called Thus Spoke the Plant. It's a book about her experiences as a plant researcher. And she's done groundbreaking, good science proving that plants can actually feel, that they have enough consciousness to choose the direction they will grow in. Just amazing. It's amazing. And when you read it, you feel kinship with all life. I was arranging some flowers this morning and I was pulling off some of the leaves to make the bouquet look better. And I had this moment of just, oh my gosh, I'm pulling their hair. Maybe it hurts. I don't know. I would like to know. Anyway, we can start being mindful of our own lives and what hurts and of other people's. That's a good start. And being alive is an endless invitation to step into the magic of this world. It's so much more infinite and mysterious than we can know or imagine. Sometimes Bob sends me like little science fiction clips or things like that, and I love it because it's just pointing to other worlds, other ways of seeing and being, and I think remembering the vastness and the mystery, oh, thank you, Ashley, of life, it can help us navigate our work, our loves, our uh, everything in between. And I know I've needed that. Coming back, I had this blessed time on a writer's retreat in Costa Rica after we taught there. And coming back to piles of mail, and I mean, I won't even go into it. You have your own life that you have to manage, but it wasn't so easy. So these bigger perspectives are super helpful to me, and I hope to you too, and that it can help connect you to the immense current of aliveness that you call yourself. So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. And now we can take some time for some exchange with each other. If you have some reflections from your own practice, or I don't know, any observations or
I
questions.
see Carol with her hand up.
Experience. And Ashley will call on you if you raise your hand, or I will if I see it first.
Good morning, Trudy. Good morning, everybody. I know that I sit very quietly most of the time, but I moved today to share with everybody my joy. I've been growing cataracts for several years, and I've just had cataract surgery and new implant lenses. And my God, my life. I cannot believe what I've been missing. And so I am so mindful of this very moment of such deep gratitude for what really is out there, and I've been missing half of it. Trudy, thank you. Thank you for the years of mentoring for me and helping me grow and become, really actualize my full potential. I really do salute you and Jack, and thank you everybody for sharing my joy at this very moment.
Well, Carol's joy is about more than her cataracts. I do want to say that because Carol Carol nursed her beloved husband Erwin through his dementia, and he was a great musician in addition to, accomplished professional and other things. But and she started a nonprofit called Music Men's Minds for people who have dementia, who, because the brain can still remember music and how to play. And you can see behind her, it says Music Men's Minds, Restoring the Rhythm of Life. And it was so beautiful. This band that Erwin and she and other people, Jean from Sitting Group and others that I don't know, created, that it's just spread around the world. And look at that big smile. And I know it's been a ton of work. And I just salute you for having turned tragedy into something that is such a blessing for so many people, Carol. And I'm glad now you can see all the colors and things that you were didn't know you were missing, did you?
I didn't. And when I had one eye done and the week to follow, waiting for the second, I could already see what was coming, because the good eye saw the Technicolor story and the bad eye had some kind of mustard halo around it. And now I got two good eyes, and I am thrilled.
Well, we're thrilled with you. Congratulations. And look at Bernard's message to you in the chat. And by the way, we're very chat positive in this group, so you feel free to put things in the chat. Liz, I see you have your hand up, Liz.
Yes, thank you, Carol, for sharing your joy. It's inspiring. Thank you, Trudy, for a wonderful talk. I have had a lot of questions about equanimity for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And the way I initially learned it was mistaken somehow. I thought you had to go master all the Brahma Viharas, and at the end, you would have equanimity, which may be true. But that's the way I thought of it. I didn't think I could move towards equanimity other than going through this long process until I heard Philip Moffitt teach on this last year and got the point that I could have equanimity. But also, I want to say something in praise of older people. I think that I have made, in a way, miraculous change. I'm 83, and I have made miraculous changes in the last 2 years that I could not have even foreseen 10 years ago. And in a way, this makes me sad because lots of people die in their 70s. My favorite mantra is, I'm glad I lived long enough to see it. And I really feel that way. I'm a cancer survivor. I've had tremendous trouble with my body throughout my life. Pain and allergies and illness, not illness, but allergies and problems, menstrual problems. So I haven't liked my body. It's given me enormous trouble. But, and by the way, the affectionate breathing is becoming one of the very popular meditations now. Someone from very popular. The elders group, your teacher in the elders group did it, but lots of teachers are doing it. People love it. I did it when I was teaching my compassion course.
No, I'm happy to hear that.
Yes,
Yes.
very, very, very popular. In the beginning, people think it's silly, but we encourage silliness. In any case, I want to say, let's hear it for the elderly, but things happened to me that I could not have ever experienced. And in a way, I'm sad about that because it's developmental. I couldn't force these changes 10 years ago. I knew about them intellectually, but I couldn't feel them with my whole spirit. I wasn't developed enough yet. As I said, thank God, thank Buddha. I have to say something, thank God. Thank Buddha, thank Buddha, I lived long enough to experience it. So I also felt that equanimity was spiritual bypassing. And you know what? At 83, I say, let's hear it for spiritual bypassing. Seriously, any way you can get to that joy, any way that you can get to that equanimity, do it. That's all I have to say. What is your response?
Well, my response is, first of all, I think it's so important for people to know that as long as you're alive, you can learn and grow and develop
Absolutely.
in heart.
I've learned more and grown in the last 2 years than in my whole life, I think.
And you're also expressing a truth, which is sometimes when we have an insight like that, like, oh, wow, I've actually learned and grown, more in the last 2 years than my whole life, or something like that. There can also be some sadness with it too. Like,
yes,
why couldn't I have seen this sooner?
absolutely, absolutely.
I could have been a lot happier,
Yeah.
or whatever. And so, yeah, so that's true too. But I think it's really a heartening message for everybody that don't ever say too late
No,
because you're alive, and that's part of why we talk about this precious aliveness, this precious human body, this precious human birth. And I will respond a little differently to the last part because I don't think you really mean spiritual bypassing when you say, do it, get the joy any way you can. Because spiritual bypassing actually doesn't bring joy. Spiritual bypassing means, using your meditation to dissociate from the suffering in your life and not facing it at all. I don't think we have to rub our noses in it, like we're bad puppies, or, not that people do that anymore, but they used to. I don't think we have to, wallow or be totally loyal to our suffering at all. But I do think that what you're really saying is find the moments of joy and revel in them wherever you can. I don't think you're really saying, paste a smiley face on everything wrong and just see if you can be in denial and get happy that way. I don't think
no, of course not. Listen, as I said, I started therapy when I was 19 years old. That's about 60 years of intensive work, and moved to spiritual practice when I was 30. I feel very fortunate that when I was 30, I realized that, therapy wasn't going to do the whole job, was only going to do part of the job. I needed a spiritual practice. And I'm very grateful that I knew that. That was miraculous. But letting go of suffering, I had a huge experience last month where I realized I was clinging to my suffering. And what a shock, what an insight, what an amazing letting go.
Yeah.
And a result of my hard work all my life to come to this, to see the benefits of the work, of the effort that I put in. It makes me want to cry. And I know you understand this because you've done the same thing. Well, a lot of people can't understand this, but you understand it because you put an enormous amount of effort into your life.
Yeah.
And seen the results. And I thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And now I can even say I'm also a cancer survivor. I can even
Yes.
say that.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, and also the role of acceptance is something I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
Acceptance has been very powerful for me.
yeah, me too. It's a huge part of our practice, acceptance. But remember, acceptance, I'm speaking to everybody, not you, Carol. I mean, not you, because I know you know, Liz.
No, but I don't hear that
Does
word.
not
I
mean
don't,
resignation or it doesn't mean sinking
no.
into some kind of despair. I'm just telling everybody because sometimes you hear the word acceptance, just it doesn't feel very appealing. Like, ooh, I don't know that I want that. But
No.
acceptance is really a gateway to freedom, and that's what it's for. And so it's very liberating.
I
It's
would like to hear more teachers talking about it. I don't hear it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's really hard to practice acceptance sometimes, and so I don't say it lightly because it takes a lot of effort. But it's worth it. And like Liz said, you can't force these things, we just practice and trust, and that's where trust is so huge in this practice because you can't force it. We have to trust it will unfold. So somebody else, please.
I know I'm moderating, but I'll say 2 words just
You're
to
allowed, you're
illustrate.
allowed to speak. You're allowed to speak.
But
Moderators are allowed to talk.
I just don't want it to be centered around me in any way. I just wanted to speak to that and saying acceptance is one thing that you've taught me the most. And I emailed you about it yesterday, saying that the more that I've turned and you used this inward, it's and accepted what it is and what my experience is, and learned to kind of dance with it, to surf the wave, like Jack likes to say. And when you find that it's no, is my situation perfect? Absolutely not. But I'm staying present and showing up for it. And I cannot tell you how much ease that's brought me in times of turmoil. And I love how you used the analogy today that like your body is a home, because I've sat on this cushion and just returned home every time something starts to get a little bit too overwhelming. And then magically, it's like over time, it's not magic, but it's practice. Over time, things just get easier to handle, even if they're off the wall, out of left field. It's so much easier to handle, so much easier. So thank you.
Well, the thing is, Ashley, hearing you say that, those of us who've been in the group for a while and remember some of your earlier sharing in the group, I mean, it is magic. Yes, you've been doing the practice and you've been putting the teachings into practice, and the magic has happened because look at you. You're smiling and you're moderating and you're feeling like you actually can work with the incredible challenges of your single mom life. Yeah, thank you. Bob, you want to unmute yourself, Bob?
Yeah. Thanks, Trudy. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Yeah, I almost talked myself. I was running late. I almost talked myself out of coming, and I'm so glad that I didn't do that.
I'm glad you came.
Because I've been hearing so much of what is helpful to hear this morning about the body. I too, for the last 2.5+ years, feel like I'm discovering all sorts of things about my body that I didn't know, which has both been thrilling and weird at times and challenging, and sometimes confusing and really difficult, honestly. And I was feeling particularly kind of worked up about it the last couple of days, and so coming here has really been very grounding and settling, actually. I really liked your suggestion to think about a time when we were young. We were in our body, and the first thing came to me, you'll relate to this, was boogie boarding and body surfing on the coast of North Carolina when I was a kid, which I did any chance I had in the warm water. It's the temperature of Hawaii in
Wow.
southern North Carolina, yeah, in the summer. And dolphin jumping just offshore.
Oh, I could jump in right now.
What?
I said I could jump in right now.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, and they come close to shore too. It was great. We called them porpoises, but because we didn't know any better. But anyway, and now living in California, up here it's really cold to do that, and the surf is really big where I live. So I get to Hawaii or Southern California occasionally, or Massachusetts. Used to go to Cape Cod and do it. Anyway, so thank you for that memory, because I've been feeling I've been feeling a little discouraged about my relationship to my body these last few days, and that was helpful. And the last thing, I had a thought when you were talking about the fetishizing of women's and people of colored bodies, and I had this, I mean, just a off the cuff theory, but I was thinking, well, why is that? Why we do that? And one thought I had was the degree to which white, straight, colonializing men, objectifying men are not in touch with aspects of their own body experience, sensual, sexual, emotional, etc., that you want to objectify it, fetishize it, have it in other people. I had never had that thought before, but I don't know if anybody else finds that useful way to think about it. It was helpful to me because I have all those things as a straight white guy. I do fetishize women's bodies, for example. I mean, and all sorts of things. And the older I've gotten, the less comfortable I've been with it. When I was a young guy, it's just what we did, It was just exciting. It's kind of what a guy did. Not so comfortable with it anymore. Still with me, but so that was very useful, because it loops back to what I said first, which is I'm discovering some things about my body that are enlivening, actually, as well as weird and difficult. So thank you for today. This has been really helpful.
And thank you for your honesty, and just about what you were saying. I've worked with people all ages, and little boys, when they get excited about something, and I'm not talking about that, they're not sexual. When they get excited, just excited about something, they get an erection. It's like they're excited,
Yeah.
and their whole body responds to that excitement. And by the time you start talking with 18-year-olds, they have a script, a penis focused script, and are not feeling it in their whole bodies anymore. So yeah, I just appreciate you bringing that up. And yeah, actually, Meredith, I remember you didn't get a chance to speak last week. Meredith?
Thanks. Yeah, hi, I'm here.
Okay.
So very much. Wow, what a great meeting. Gee, where to start? I'll try to keep it simple. First of all, well, I'll stay with today. Because of my background, that included a lot of incesting, I grew up to be, I identified strongly as a sexual object. And I didn't know for years that therefore I saw other people as sexual objects. And because I also have been blessed with a longer life, I came to a place at the end of, well, more or less at the end of a relationship that was reenacting how I identified. And for whatever reason, I turned on it and just said no. And then there was a lot of therapy, and there still is. And underneath, I've discovered enormous enmeshment. And how do I say? How do I? It's well, I'll try to put it in the context of what you said today, because one thing that stood out for me was, and now I'm geeking out, but in relation to or in response to tangles, my experience has been that what they're made of needs acceptance, not getting rid of, and then that dissolves them. And accepting the enmeshment, I have discovered, is hard to work through. It's a deep, deep, deep fears and profound confusion. And it's worth it though. And I just loved Liz's share. I mean, it's like, oh yes, continue. Oh yes, this is so good. Oh, good. Oh, thank you, Liz, for the encouragement. I mean, that from the deepest part of my heart, because underneath, and where the lack of action has been, I mean, the frozen, the terrified, full of hatred, angle, so to speak, is possible to work through. And I'm glad I get the chance.
I'm glad too. And you know what? What Liz shared is like, you can, when you grow up, Meredith, you can be like that too.
Oh, Trudy. Yes. So that just gets back, I'm going to say quickly, or unless I'm interrupting you.
Oh, go ahead.
I also really appreciated, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, you brought up mudita, which I also don't hear that much about. I mean, it's not, and maybe it's me, I don't know. Probably is, but I've followed Joseph Goldstein's practice online a little bit, and I want to more, because this tunnel I'm working through, call it whatever, really is not a big focus on happiness. And and it's enormously helpful.
Good. Thank you.
Profoundly helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Oh God.
You've got one more hand up, I believe, in the participants, and then Robert has his hand up in chat, but I don't know where we're at with time, Trudy.
Okay. Well, I forget your name, iPad. Unmute yourself.
Hi, Kathy.
You're
Hi,
Kathy.
Trudy.
Okay.
Hi. I wanted to just comment, like, I think that when you're talking about the objectification of, Black, brown, and female bodies, and also I wanted to add trans bodies and the kind of fear around that, and the girl who was just murdered in the UK.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But also I feel that the objectification is it's fear-based, and it's a need to control, like a kind of a power that female bodies have, that Black and brown, bodies have, that was always kind of exoticized and objectified as a means of controlling, which is like, I mean, that's the kind of core kind of practice of colonization, which is controlling and dominating, right? And so objectification leads to that. And it's this way of separation, like you're talking about separation, like objectification of another person's body is, I mean, that is essentially like separation, which is from fear. And also, I mean, and with that comes privilege, white male privilege as well, which are things that I think, we have to be aware of and think of. And then the other thing I wanted to say about the body was like, with like trauma-based therapy like somatic experiencing, that the body and feeling safe in the body is so important and like intrinsic to healing through trauma. So I found the meta, the body scan of meta very similar to my somatic practice, in that it allows you the, once you feel safe in your body, it allows you the space to kind of heal through very, you know, anxieties or things that kind of develop around your trauma, so that keep you from actually dealing with the trauma. And I just felt that the meta, the scanning the body, was really helpful, because then you have this kind of support and space to actually process the emotions that are maybe too complex if you don't feel supported.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. That is exactly, I mean, thank you for bringing up trauma and somatic experiencing, because you can talk your way. All you do is, sort of deepen it. You need to do a body-based therapy. So I thank you for bringing that up. And also, that is the purpose of that meditation for me. I mean, yes, it's a lovely meditation and it's enjoyable and people can use it for all sorts of things, but I see it as really to provide some sort of stable foundation for facing all the rest.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, so we do have time for Bob, one more person, and then Ashley, are there going to be breakout groups today? Okay, good. And then I encourage everybody who can to stay and participate in a group which Zoom puts you into. And but it's just a chance to talk about, like, what was it like to do that practice together, or just things that, and maybe to get to know and feel a little more connected to the group. So um Bob, can you unmute yourself, Bob?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. There you are.
Okay, well, this might seem frivolous in the light of all the preceding conversation, but as Trudy knows, I like classic science fiction films. And there was a remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still, which starred Keanu Reeves. And the story was quite different from the original. And in the remake, the alien has a non-human body, but he has to assume a human body, or that's, and one of his first remarks in regaining consciousness in this new form is something like, wow, this body is going to take some getting used to, which, which is what I've been experiencing. I'm 81 and I'm having to have a lot of physical therapy now. And so I'm discovering all kinds of different pains and things I can't do. And I thought, it's still, I mean, I'm 81, but the body is still taking some getting used to.
Yeah, no, I can relate. I think that's part of what Bob was talking about too. But it's true at each stage of life. I mean, gosh, can you remember puberty? Oh my gosh, like Alice in Wonderland, right? Um, it's just such a huge change, or even just having your teeth fall out when you're in first grade. All these things, they take some getting used to. So yeah, that's a great, thank you very much for that reference and for that quote. And I think for once we will end on time. So let's just spend a minute or two sitting together. Thank you, everybody. So grateful for your being here, for your presence and practice. And at the end of this period of study and practice together, we offer the goodness of our practice to all beings everywhere without exception. May we and all beings, in whatever way we can, disentangle the tangle of, prejudice, hate, ignorance, all those things, disentangle whatever gets in the way of our loving each other, loving our bodies, loving this life. Again, thank you everybody for your honesty, your presence. I love you all. You can unmute, we'll say hi, goodbye, and I encourage you to stay for a breakout group. And I will see you next week. And next week, I hope teaching with my friend Catherine Shaddix here, but not 100% sure, but I hope so. She's great. So I'll see you next week. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, Trudy. Love you, Trudy.
Thank you, Trudy. This was really great.
Bye, everyone. See you
Thanks,
next
Love the
Trudy.
meditation.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
So obviously I'm usually on the other end of the spectrum, not moderating. So I'm going to do my best, and thank you for your patience, guys. But we usually take what, about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes? I don't know. How many
5.
minutes? Like 5? Okay. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes, and I'll see you then.
Okay. Let's see here.